What's good, everyone? It's your boy Nati with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone. And tonight, you know who I got on. I know you guys saw the notification last week. The stream got rescheduled to tonight, and I got Rio from Rambling About Washington, Raw podcast on the stream tonight. Very special guest. Great insight of the Washington football team. Great person as well off the podcast and stuff. But Rio, for all the people out there who might not already know you, can you introduce yourself and basically what you got going on outside of this stream?
All right, man. I appreciate you for the invite. I appreciate your content. I like what you're doing over here. My name is Rio Robinson. I'm from Northern Virginia. I'm a big DC sports fan, more specifically, Washington football team. They're pretty much my life. Like their winning or losing affects my work week, my life, my mood, my mental health overall. So I started my own podcast in March called the Rambling About Washington podcast. That's an acronym for RAW because we keep things raw, unfiltered, and unbiased on my show. You know, I get my profanity off because that's me. That's what I do. And anyone who comes on my show should know it's a safe space to just get your stuff off, say what you got to say, and we keep it entertaining over there, man.
Yeah, man. I do want to ask you a couple of things in regards to a specific interview. First off, that I saw you had a couple of weeks back, and it's with someone who I highly, highly, highly respect, and someone who I've read up a bunch of articles on in the last couple of years regarding the draft process, and that is the great Matt Miller. I was wondering what was it like interviewing him, and yeah, I've been a huge fan of him. Obviously, a huge fan of yours, so it's great to see the collaboration there. But what was that like?
Oh, first of all, it was really cool because for years now, he's my favorite of the draft analysts because I like his perspective. He's not like he speaks the draft talk in a layman's term fashion, and his podcast, I don't know if you listen, Stick to Football, like it was great with him, Connor Rodgers, and Mello, his brother. Like he gives it up straight. So when I was able to get in contact with ESPN and get him on the show, that was huge for me. And that was my debut YouTube podcast. So it was great to be able to pick his brain. He's actually positive on the Washington football team. The media is starting to love us. It is such a refreshing change, and I am not used to all the respectability that Ron Rivera is bringing to the team right
now. Yeah, man. And I remember on, I think it was either that Thursday night over draft weekend or that Friday night, he kept saying every single pick that we made, he was like, this is a great pick, Washington. This is a great pick, Washington. Yeah. And with the Cowboys, he was like, I don't know what they're doing, but it was yeah, it's definitely refreshing, like you said, to see all this great attention, I guess, for this team. Although obviously we had some news that broke last week that we'll discuss later on the stream. The next question I want to ask you is in regards to you being an official fan ambassador for the 2021 season. If anybody doesn't already know, can you basically talk about what that means and also how great of an honor that is for this upcoming season?
First of all, this is bucket list type stuff. Like this whole off season has been a big list of wow for me because I mean I'm a first time season ticket holder. I got chosen for the I appreciate it, man. I got chosen for the fan ambassador program after interviewing with Joey Colby Bekovich, who I actually had on my podcast. He came over from Carnival Cruise. He was over there for more than a decade as the director of fun entertainment and hospitality. So he's trying to bring a new game day experience here to Washington. And a part of the experience, he wants to put together a network of fans to pretty much be a branch from the organization to the fan base to just let our voices be heard. And I've already had my ambassador card called on Twitter a couple of times over some disagreement. So I'm in the entertainment category. So the stuff that you see on game day, the dance team, the music is going to be played, stuff like that. I'm going to have influence in my group. And we're just going to be that line of communication from the fan base on social media, in person. And like for years, I'd say the fan base has felt kind of alienated from the franchise, and it's all starting to come together now. Yeah, definitely Brucifer. Brucifer is definitely the top call. Him and Dan too. You know, at the end of the day, I'm speaking for the team, but we're gonna call it how we see it. Dan Snyder, Yeah. That's a different kind of guy, man.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, perfect segue for what I'm going to ask you next. Obviously, late last week, and this is what we were going to talk about on Thursday when the stream was originally scheduled. But I'm going to talk about it right now because obviously, the news has sort of. I know the organization, the Washington football team, and the NFL sort of wanted this to just go under the rug and just move on, but
Of
we're not going to
course.
do that here on this stream. I want your thoughts on basically the situation that happened late last week with Dan Snyder kind of maybe sort of being suspended, but not being suspended from the Washington football team, and Tanya Snyder taking over as the team CEO, and also the fine for the Washington football team. I believe it was $10 million that basically is coming out of Dan Snyder's pocketbooks. What are your thoughts on all of that? And do you think this team, this organization, will avoid any future controversy from now on, since we just got through the whole Beth Wilkinson report?
Did we really get through it though? The Beth Wilkinson report, the report that can't even be written down and
Yeah,
shown to the
old
public, man.
testament.
I appreciate that, Hawk. What's going on, man? But yeah, man, I didn't react too drastically because this is what I expected. It's a good old boys league, and they are all in the fraternity of protecting the shield. And at the end of the day, if they were to drastically punish Dan, not his pockets, but punish Dan as far as like draft picks or like an actual suspension or threatening to take away his ownership rights, that would have opened up a can of worms for the rest of the league. And we all know these owners all have skeletons in their closet and they all have things going on in their organization. So it didn't surprise me one bit. You know, they fined him $10 million, which in retrospect, they're going to say, oh my goodness, this is the biggest fine levied. But at the same time, we can write a 130-page document about deflated footballs in an AFC championship game, but we can't give the public a document about sexual harassment and a toxic culture that's taken place for about 2 decades for an organization. I mean, it's baffling, but it's expected at this point. And I expect nothing more from billionaire white owners to protect other billionaire white owners. So it doesn't surprise me. And Dan has been slowly rolling out his wife to be the face of the franchise for quite some time. Her name has been popping up on press releases, which was not a normal thing here. So the rollout's been happening, and we pretty much knew when the league approved Dan getting 100% ownership of the team that there wasn't going to be any harsh punishment. So I've been prepared since then. Yeah, I've been prepared since then. So it wasn't much of a surprise to me when the verdict came out on Thursday.
Yeah, and on the point that you mentioned at the beginning of your comments about how this isn't a surprise to you, I mean, even the Dallas Mavericks, I believe they had a similar sort of
very similar
recommendation set up for their sexual harassment allegations that had rocked their front office a couple years ago. So I get it. You know, the punishment isn't. It's typical for these sort of things, but at the same time, I feel like you should drift away from like the typical and try to send a message basically that this is no longer tolerated in the NFL. Because obviously, although the Washington football team got caught up with it, right, the sexual harassment allegations, it's likely to be a thing around the NFL. Just, you know, hasn't really fully blown into what it did for the Washington football team last summer. So I think sending a message would have been better, but I kind of get the punishment as the days go along, I guess.
I just wish that Dan would stand in front of a podium just one time and just take the bullets face to face, accept it, take it, and respond, because it just always feels like he's ducking away from it. I just want more accountability from my franchise, but we are moving in the right direction. So I am very genuinely optimistic for the first time in a while. I know I've been delusionally optimistic because that's what we do in the fan base, especially during the off season. It's optimism season. But I genuinely feel like things are moving in the right direction, and Dan is not going to meddle as long as things keep churning.
Yep, agreed. And I remember seeing, I don't know if it was from NBC Sports Washington or from another publication. It was right after the punishment was made, the $10 million, and Dan Snyder stepping away for Tanya Snyder to take over as the team CEO. There was a article, the title of the article was, do you think that Jason Wright's talent is enough for this Washington football team to basically like steer away from trouble? Obviously, that wasn't the exact title. It was much shorter than that, but that was pretty much the message there. I mean, do you think that the hire Jason Wright, do you think Jason Wright himself can really steer this franchise away from all this chaos off the field? And obviously, we have Ron Rivera stabilizing things on the field, but do you think Jason Wright is you think he can do that?
Jason Wright is a sharp dude, man. I wouldn't put anything past this brother. This guy is sharp. This guy is witty. This guy is down to earth, humble. I think the collective of him and Ron Rivera and everything they're putting together, I trust this process. I think Dan has finally put together a professional organization that's ready to keep us out of headlines in a negative sense. Like, for the first time, if it wasn't for this, it would be the first time I can remember having a perfect off season. And maybe Dan's wife, maybe Tanya Snyder is exactly what we need. Dan, go get on your boat, draw up your blueprints for our new stadium coming to DC, Maryland, or Virginia in 2026. And
DC, please.
Stay out of the draft room. Stay out of the free agency room, and let Ron cook and let Jason handle the business, because this brother knows what he's talking about, what he's doing. And from his time at McKinsey and Company, I trust that we're in good hands.
Yep. And what can you expect? I mean, from a guy who I know it was just to get his business degree, but U Chicago alum. I go to U Chicago, so I expect nothing less from Jason Wright, being the upstanding citizen that he is, and hopefully he could turn things around off the field, because obviously, again, Ron Vera has done a great job so far on the field. But speaking of on the field, I want to get into the actual players that are on this roster, and
let's do it.
Specifically, first and foremost, I want to get to the quarterback position, obviously, because that, I mean, here in DC, that's what everyone cares about every single year, and this year is no different.
More important than the president around here, man.
Yep. That's true. Is the QB spot really Ryan Fitzpatrick's job to lose? And do you think that he will ultimately be the week 1 starter for this team? And another question, for how long will he start? Because obviously starting 16, 17 game seasons for Ryan Fitzpatrick hasn't really been the norm. Do you think he can do that this year? Do you think he could stay healthy enough pretty much to do that?
I think the health part, that's not going to be an issue at all. And as far as it being his job, I think it's definitely his job. I think unless he absolutely throws up or gets seriously injured or pulls a hammy in camp, it's his job for sure. And I've went back and forth on this topic in the offseason. I've definitely went from, maybe Heineke is going to give him some go for the position, or should we even expect anything from Fitzpatrick? But we're actually a situation that's built for him to succeed. Our offensive line is good enough. He has speed and weapons, and he has a defense. He doesn't have to play YOLO ball and throw up Eli Manning Super Bowl prayers for 4 quarters over here. He can kind of let things come to him. So I expect to see him start the entire season. Like, right now, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, I don't want to sound like too much of a homer, because I do call this team out when they need to be. But right now, things seem to be clicking. If health stays on our side, I think we are going to be a good football team this year, and Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be able to shift the narrative of his journeyman career this season. I expect to see him start the whole season and do numbers.
Okay. Shout out to Uria, Hawk, Gunner, Awesomeness Sports, who shouted us out specifically.
What's going on, man?
This is something that we talked about off camera, but I mean, a lot of fans forget that, yes, we have 3 preseason games next month, right? Obviously, we did not have that before the
It's
2020
crazy.
season because of COVID.
It's
Taylor
crazy.
Heineke season, right? During the
Oh,
preseason.
that's definitely Taylor season.
Do you think if he could put up an impressive, like a super impressive performance, maybe he might make it tough on the coaches to ultimately pick Fitzpatrick as a starter come week 1?
I think that preseason will be the Taylor Heineke show, and I expect nothing but I expect him to go out and fry in preseason. Like we saw him go out and perform in a playoff game versus the eventual Super Bowl champion, that being without Devin White. But we've seen what he's capable of. He's been with Scott Turner in 3 different locations: Minnesota, Carolina, and here in Washington. So the offense is a second language for him at this point. But at the same time, they know who the starter is. Like, I think he can light it up in the preseason, but that's because Fitzpatrick's probably only going to play 8 series in the preseason. As long as Fitzpatrick has the offense down, I don't see any issue with that. But if he's staying true to his word and it's a true quarterback competition, I do think Heineke will apply some pressure. He's put on some muscle this offseason, but he also needs to show he can make it through a game without an injury before we can even expect a guy who's almost 30 years old to come in and start. Say what you want about Fitzpatrick. He always manages to get on the football field, and he always manages to get a bag from another football team. So, and he is not afraid to throw the ball down the field. And for that alone, we're going to be fun and entertaining. I cannot take any more check down Jesus football here in Washington. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Fitzy's going to bring. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a hell of a time. He's bringing a swagger to this locker room and organization.
Yeah. I will say, though, although Taylor Heineke is getting pretty close to 30, pretty young Les there. So, I mean, it's not like, he has a lot of wear and tear on his body over the last couple of years. Although he's been injured almost every single time he does
touches the field.
Yeah,
right.
I'll give you that. But what about Kyle Allen? Everybody forgets about him, but I mean, Ron Rivera basically went to him before Alex Smith last year when ultimately Dwayne Haskins just pooped the bed and stuff at the beginning of the season. But, I mean, does he stand a chance in this quarterback room?
Clearly he doesn't, because Ron and company, nobody's mentioning him. I think the injury just put him in a really bad spot. Like, it's a 2 quarterback race, and he's just there to be a backup at this point. He's there as the last option, the emergency option in case something catastrophic happens. Let's knock on wood, first of all, because as we've seen here in the last few seasons, we have seen 3-4 quarterbacks, sometimes 5 in one season. So, like, we're the QB purgatory here in DC. So, as many knowledgeable of the offense guys you need around, keep him in the building. So, but I don't think he's a realistic option for QB1 here this season, unless an injury occurs.
Okay. And Fitzy will be Terry McLaurin's 7th quarterback since coming into the league. So that just proves your point there.
Pretty much. Yeah. I just want to know what number 1 receiver targets look like for him with a quarterback who can actually do it.
Not just a quarterback that can actually do it, but a quarterback who historically has peppered his number 1 receivers with targets like over the last couple of years. I mean, I saw some highlights over the weekend of Ron Fitzpatrick just to see what
I was watching a lot of them too. Yeah,
you saw a lot of that connection with Devontae Parker in Miami.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, almost every single highlight.
Oh yeah, I like it. Yeah, Fitzy, man, he plays with balls, man. I love it. Like, we're not going to see a boring style of football here. And we have a run game. So I think our run game is better than Miami's run game. We get Gibson going. He's going to be able to pick his poison because Miami Brown, Curtis Samuel, Adam Humphries, who he already has a rapport with playing in Tampa with him. I'm excited. Logan Thomas emerging as an actual tight end 1 here that we haven't had in quite some time. We don't have to deal with Sprinkle anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm excited to see what this offense can be, man, because I already know the defense going to turn up.
For sure. And speaking of the defense, we have our first question from Uriah tonight. Or not really a question, but he brought up Kirk Cousins. I want to ask you about the linebacker group, and do you think that it's a given that it's going to be Davis, Bostic, and Holcomb come week 1? Do you think that Hudson has an outside chance of ultimately taking that starting position spot, maybe from Bostic. Fingers crossed, because as many people in this chat already know, I'm not a huge fan of John Bostic on this channel. But do you think he could potentially take up his spot and really round out this linebacker group?
Yeah, Bostic, when my last pod with Tay and Todd and crew, one of them predicted Bostic being a surprise cut. And my guy Alex is really high on Hitman Hudson. I would love to see a young linebacker crew of Jamin with Holcomb and Hudson on the outside. I would love that, because as we've seen, Ron is not afraid to play young players here. And Bostic, although he improved later in the year, he just doesn't cut it. He's there because he can call the plays, he can get guys aligned, but he's not much of a playmaker. And I think
see the back of his jersey too much too.
Oh yeah, way too much. And he's not much at all in coverage. And I would say don't sleep too much on the signing of David Mayo, the guy we signed in the offseason. I think he's gonna make a run for the spot too, because he knows the defense as well. And I would love to see Hudson be a breakout player. I want as many young upside players on the field as possible. So it would be amazing to see Hudson, Davis, and Holcomb. I know Davis is going to be an animal. He's going to be a monster. I predicted he was going to be our pick realistically on my show. Like I thought he was going to be the pick at 19, because I didn't see Parsons actually getting the 19, even though that was the dream pick at the time. But I think Jamin ultimately is the better culture fit and is the prototypical linebacker for Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio.
I mean, it wasn't even like a month on the job. Micah Parsons got in trouble with the whole 9/11 like stuff with his jersey. And I mean, you were talking about us drafting Damon Davis. I was talking about us not drafting Micah Parsons, not because of how high you potentially go, but I know for a fact this guy is a troublemaker. Like, he literally can't stay away from off the field trouble. And I just felt like it was a perfect pick for the Cowboys. I mean, typical pick. They go with the guy with off the field concerns and just roll the dice to see, hope for themselves that things work out. But I agree with you.
I still think he's gonna be a baller though. I still think Parsons is gonna kill it in Dallas. Like, he's gonna be really good.
Do you think Davis will be the second consecutive defensive rookie of the year here in DC?
I think he has a very good chance to do so, because like Matt Miller said on my show, he said he could have a Darius Leonard type impact on our defense. And he has more of an advantage than Leonard has, because he has those animals up front on our defensive line who are going to keep things clear. He's just going to be able to come downhill and make plays with his athleticism. He may get a couple picks. Like, yes, he's going to be in the conversation for defensive rookie of the year as long as he stays healthy. I believe so.
Okay. What's up, cuz? Now we're joining the stream. I want to ask you, so going back to the Ryan Fitzpatrick talk that we started off with, I want to ask you, so you said that you think he's going to have a very good season. What do you project his stats to look like this upcoming season? Because I know that's always fun, right? Predicting stats.
Realistically or best case scenario?
Realistically,
4,200 yards, 28 touchdowns, 13 picks.
Okay. I'm right there.
63% completion percentage.
Okay, that's fair. I'm right there with you. A little bit down on the yards, because I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick has thrown over 3,800 passing yards. Even with the Jets on that season where he went 10-6, I believe, and he was starting most of the games. So I'm there with you. I just don't think he'll throw for as many yards, but I could definitely see that kind of season out of him. And I see Rodgers Smith still. I mean, we need a linebacker and an RB. Do you think that Washington, before week 1 comes around, do you think they're going to add to that running back group, or do you think they're pretty much okay?
I think the running back room is good. As long as Gibson is healthy, I think the running back room is fine. Him and JD, and let Peyton Barber and Jared Patterson battle it out for the third running back spot. I like Jared Patterson a lot. He's explosive, man. He has that Maurice Jones-Drew, short, stocky, hard runner, explosive back kind of style. I think we're good in the running back room. Linebacker, let's see how it plays out in camp. We have a lot of young bodies there with upside. And I really like what Jamin's going to bring to it. And Holcomb, we still don't know if he's already at his ceiling or how good he can be yet. So they have an advantage in that linebacker room to play behind the nastiest defensive front in the league. So I don't think we need as much at linebacker as the average team would.
Okay. I see here a question regarding Curtis Samuel. Kind of interesting question. More rushing yards, Curtis Samuel or J.D. McKissic this year?
Oh yeah, because Tay was on my pod. He no, there was a on my podcast last week. My guy Jalen predicted Curtis Samuel to have more rushing yards than J.D. McKissic. I don't think so. I think Curtis Samuel, we're going to use him as a Swiss Army knife gadget type player, but J.D. McKissic naturally will have more carries. Curtis may be more explosive plays and big gains, but I think Curtis Samuel is going to do more as a receiver than he will rushing. So now I'm going to take J.D. on that one. What about you?
Okay. I personally, I would agree with you, J.D. McKissic. Although this is where I sort of wanted to lead into with this question. I mean, how big of a drop-off do you think J.D. McKissic will have in his overall production this year compared to last year? With the re-emerging of Antonio Gibson towards the end of last season, and who knows, maybe he could be that bona fide RB1 this year. I mean, so I guess I'm asking you two questions here. How big of a season do you think Antonio Gibson will have? And then also, do you think J.D. McKissic's stats and stuff will just go way down because of Antonio Gibson just, now completely overtaking him on the depth chart?
I'll answer the second question first. I won't say way down, but J.D. McKissic, his numbers will definitely take a dip, but more so not because of Gibson, because of the fact that our quarterback that's going to be playing this year is capable of throwing to wide receivers. And he's not going to throw the wheel route, the flat route, and the check down 22 times a game. J.D. McKissic was getting number one wide receiver targets with Alex Smith in the game. So obviously with a gunslinger mentality quarterback that we have now, his targets are going to go down. But Antonio Gibson, there is no reason if he starts the whole season, he shouldn't be over 1,300 all-purpose yards and double-digit touchdown. There's no reason not to think that, because he was building on possibly a 15-touchdown rookie season if it wasn't for that lingering damn turf toe, which is an injury I've experienced before. That is a lingering, annoying injury, and I hope he's past it, because there's no set timetable on it, and your toe, you feel that all the time until you get 100% right. I think he's going to have a baller season. He's going to establish himself as RB1 here.
Okay. Do you think maybe not this season, but maybe by the time the 2022 season rolls around, maybe he could get himself into like Pro Bowl contention with the stats that he puts up here in DC and his overall production?
Gibson, I think he'll be in the mix for that. And I don't think he has to. I mean, honestly, I really could care less about the Pro Bowl thing as long as just do numbers, man. Just win games. But I see no reason not to, because he was in year one coming off of being a receiver in college and transitioning into a running back. And we were able to get that much out of him a whole off season later, not a COVID off season, a real off season. He's down some weight. He's going to be more explosive and he's more comfortable in the position. I see no reason why he can't be a Pro Bowl running back.
Okay. What's up, Ali? The question here from Roger Smith, the return game. I don't think we've actually talked about that enough on this channel, at least, but who do you think will be the kick returner and punt returner this year? Because obviously we did sign DeAndre Carter, I believe, a couple months ago. And Steven Sims, who knows how long he's going to stay on this roster for.
I'm not sure.
And then also we got guys in the draft, right? A couple young bucks, Dax Milne, some other receivers as well. I mean, who do you think will ultimately take those two spots?
I think the kick returner, I think we stashed this Carter guy just specifically to be a kick returner. We're not even going to ever see him as a wide receiver, but he's going to be kept for a specialist. I think the punt returner is going to be Adam Humphries, just because he has experience catching punts. He's not the most explosive guy, unless they decide to go the younger, cheaper route. And the kid from BYU, Dax Milne, does it. I don't see Sims doing it. I maybe another candidate for it if he's kept on the final roster. Isaiah Wright. I think he could possibly do it. He's down some weight this year. I think he's showing some returnability in college. But I think Carter's going to do the kick returning and Humphrey's the punt returning.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Ali here. I think Dax will probably go to the practice squad this season, so I don't think he will, at least come week one, first couple of weeks of the season, I don't think he will take over the role. But I do agree with you. Carter should probably be the kick returner. Humphreys should probably be the punt returner. Although, there's always an outside shot that an outside guy ultimately becomes one of those positions. So we'll see this season. I just want stability, man. Just stability at the two positions. It's kind of crazy. It's just a revolving door.
Field the kick. Just field it. Like, field it and then go forward when you do field it.
Yeah. We've had way too many problems with Steven Sims in that aspect, both as a receiver and as a returner. But I see here Gregory Lightbody with a kind of difficult question, because we're talking about a linebacker here and not really an edge rusher or anything. But I mean, do you want to give a stat prediction for Damon Davis? I know we're both.
You know what? I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. You know what? Give me 104 total tackles. That's assisted and solo. 104 total tackles, 2 interceptions, a forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, 2 sacks. Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate.
Okay.
That's very specific. I don't know. I just came up with this all of
Yeah. No, I mean, great numbers there. I was
just letting my brain speak to me, man.
No, that seems really reasonable. I also agree, over 100 tackles, maybe a pick, maybe like 2 or 3 forced fumbles, and I think his sack number will probably be 3 to 4 sacks maybe on the season. So
that's definitely Rookie of the Year.
yeah. I think he'll definitely have some sacks for our team, because he's just so fast, man. Like, he's really rangy. Like, he's great in covers, but I also think he can cover up a lot of ground when it comes to like linebacker blitzes and stuff. So I think he'll get some sacks. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he went stride for stride with Kyle Pitts most of the Florida game, man. That guy's an animal, man.
Great point. Yeah, and he's gonna have to be masked up against him when we play the Falcons this year. So hopefully he does well there. I do want to ask you though, with Damon Davis and the linebacker group. Well, Damon Davis specifically, do you think it's clear as day that he is the best linebacker we've had here since London Fletcher?
I got to see it to believe it, but I think potential and talent-wise, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, there was a couple guys we thought maybe we're going to stick the Keenan Robinsons of the world, but I think Jamin has the best skill set of a linebacker we've drafted in a very long time. I mean, we thought Sua Cravens was going to be we thought he was going to be something, a tweener, just a Isaiah Simmons type game changer, but we're not even going to talk about that guy. Is that guy even playing football still?
No. Yeah, I will say this. I kind of fell into this trap. I mean, this was a couple of years ago, obviously much younger, less wiser at that point. But Zach Brown, I mean, a lot of people forget his first season was actually pretty solid here in DC. Obviously, things just went downhill after that. But
very much so.
Yeah, I think a lot of people misinterpret when you say that Damon Davis is like, the most talented linebacker we've had here. A lot of people want to bring up Zach Brown in the sense that, like, he was arguably maybe as fast as Damon Davis, maybe a tick slower, but he was also super fast. But the difference between him and Damon Davis, right, is that Zach Brown had great straight line speed, right? Yep. But when it came to coverage abilities, Damon Davis is just far and above better.
Yeah, his awareness was terrible too.
Yeah, for sure. Gregory Lightbody with the stat prediction right here: 125 tackles, 2 picks, 2 forced fumbles, and 3 sacks. That's
so he's definitely got him on the Darius Leonard track for Defensive Rookie of the Year. I love to hear it, man. I love it.
For sure. Where these legends come from? Corey from On the Warpath.
My guy.
Yeah.
It's good, Corey. Sanchez.
Greg Lightbody bringing out the names. Mason Foster. Oh my gosh. Speaking of guys who just were, I don't know, man. We saw the back of the jerseys way too much.
Oh my goodness. I haven't played a sport organized in over a decade. I'm positive I'd beat Mason Foster in a foot race. I'm absolutely positive.
Oh no!
Oh my God, man! That number 54, man. I'm triggered, man. That just triggered me.
Yeah, Mason Foster and Zach Brown, man. Mid 2010s. I was our linebacker group right there.
Man. They didn't get along with the fan base too much either.
Yeah, that is facts. That is facts. Vikings for life. Kirk Cousins. I'll give you this. He had a good season last year stats wise, but I mean we've seen Kirk Cousins here in DC. He's just not a winner. I mean, sure he won that one game in the playoffs, but I mean that was also kind of
whoa. Don't discount playoff wins, man, because we had one since 05. No, I don't care. He clutched it out though. No, I feel differently about Kirk Cousins as most people in our fan base. If Kirk Cousins was quarterbacking the team we have assembled right now, we'd go 12-5 this year. I'm positive. We'd win 12 or 13 games with the roster we have constructed right now. Kirk Cousins is the best quarterback we've had in my lifetime as a fan. I'm 29. He's the best quarterback I've seen here. He's the only quarterback that could put together 4 years of production of my lifetime. So
but that doesn't mean he's good.
But he is though.
The state of this franchise.
But he is though. Put his numbers from the Vikings. Put his numbers. No, he's a good quarterback. He's not elite. He's a good quarterback. He's a top 12 quarterback in NFL.
He's not a winner.
He's a winner. He won a playoff game. Right? He won a playoff game.
Oh, the pass interference.
He's won more playoff games than Matt Stafford. Is Matt Stafford better than?
Oh no, Corey's gonna love that comment right here. The Matt Stafford thing. Matt Stafford hasn't had a running back. He hasn't had running backs that have been. I mean, his running back room has not been stable over his entire career. Defenses have been trash for the most part.
I hear that. I hear that, but Kirk Cousins has actually clutched out a playoff game before.
That's pass interference, bro.
No, I mean,
that's pass interference.
Penalties happens every day. You also still got to go perform, and he performed in the end of the game and in overtime. At the end of the day, it happened. I don't discount playoff wins because I've not seen one in the last 13 years. I don't discount play. I don't care how it happens. I don't care what the scoreboard said at the end of the day. You won or you lost. A playoff game was won. We don't do that here.
That's fair. He's my quarterback, and you guys won't be. I mean, I know we shouldn't be talking because we're fans of the Washington football team, but I don't think a Super Bowl is coming anytime soon for the Vikings as long as Kirk Cousins is a quarterback there, and that's the problem. Like, you're paying him all this money.
I mean, but that's what happens at the quarterback position, though. Quarterbacks get paid. That's what you got to do. At the end of the day, you have a quarterback, you pay him. At the end of the day, if your quarterback is more than average and you drafted him, you pay him, you move on from it. That's what the quarterback position does in this league. That's what you do.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. But, I mean, if I'm paying a quarterback all that money, I want to see some wins. And, I mean, minus that one, I know it's a playoff win. Can't discredit it like you said, but minus that playoff win, where has he taken the Vikings for the last couple of years?
I mean, the quarterback can't play defense. That defense was terrible last year.
That's fair, but when you're paying him all this money,
but there's not but so much a quarterback can do. A quarterback can do his job, but he can't play defense, man. I'm telling you, the quarterback's gonna get his money regardless, man. At the end of the day, you can do but so much. I will take his production over anything I've seen in my lifetime as a fan.
Okay. Moving on from the quarterback group, or at least from the current quarterbacks on the roster, I do want to ask you about the future of this quarterback position here in DC. And basically the question here is, how would you go about addressing the quarterback position for this team over the next couple of seasons? Because obviously Coach Rivera brought up the fact that maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick, something that we haven't really talked about up until his comments, but Ryan Fitzpatrick could potentially stay on this roster for a couple of years. Maybe this is not just a one-year thing. Maybe Washington could draft the quarterback next year. Maybe they could, what I want to happen, go and trade for Aaron Rodgers next offseason, or maybe even trade for Deshaun Watson.
I would do Rodgers in a heartbeat, and I would only touch Watson if he was like unequivocally cleared of all wrongdoing, and it comes out that the organization and that lawyer was trying to smear him, because I don't think this organization can handle right now being tied to anything sexual harassment, assault related. But I was at Freedom Rio. Yeah, Freedom High School. Don't really care for the school. I graduated there. But yeah, man. At the end of the day, I would love to have Aaron Rodgers. Like people say, oh, he's 38. Like, listen, that's Rodgers at 38. There's a difference between Fitzpatrick at 38 and Rodgers at 38. Brady is 45. Rodgers is the reigning MVP. This dude is still like, our Super Bowl window would open immediately if Rodgers was the quarterback here. But realistically speaking, I see us trading up in the first round of the draft next year to draft our future franchise quarterback. And that's how I hope it plays out, because as good as our defense and as good as we can be, we have to get a franchise quarterback. You have to. You're not just going to keep surviving off defense, because at the end of the day, a defense can regress. A franchise quarterback doesn't regress if he's really a franchise quarterback. He lasts the test of time. So you got to get one on the roster. We need to get our ass in the top 10 next year and get us our guy.
Yep. It makes sense. Vikings for life says, I hope you get Rodgers. That makes sense.
Hey, I hope so too.
Fan. Most of my Bears fans out there in Chicago say the same thing. So we great for the NFC North to no longer have to deal with him really for 2 games a season. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you, man. Like, I don't know if you checked Facebook after the initial rumors about Aaron Rodgers to, well, it was the Broncos first and then Washington. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Fans just don't, in my opinion, they just don't get it when it comes to this specific topic. Aaron Rodgers here in DC, like you said, would open up the Super Bowl contender window immediately.
And it would be there for a few years too.
Exactly. It's not like he's a receiver, right, who's 36, 37 years old, right? It's not like he's going to regress incredibly over the next couple of years. He is a all-time great quarterback. And he's won the MVP last season. Yeah,
I didn't even want to hear anything against us talking about trading for Rodgers. Like, there's literally no respectable argument to not want Aaron Rodgers. Oh, he's a diva. Oh, he complained about his situation with the Packers. And he can. He's one of the top 3 or 4 greatest quarterbacks of all time. Do people not understand that this is the perfect situation for him? You see how the Buccaneers, all they had to do was slip Tom Brady onto that roster and immediately won a Super Bowl? We are built to do the same thing if an elite quarterback was to slide its way on the roster. Watson or Rodgers would immediately make us one of the favorites in the NFC, not just on paper, but actually. I'd probably cry actual tears if I saw a notification that said we landed Watson or Rodgers or Wilson or something.
Yeah. Or Wilson. We didn't even talk about him, but I feel like cooler heads had definitely prevailed there in Seattle. But, I mean, do you have a specific – you don't really have to answer this, I guess, but do you have a specific quarterback in mind that you would like Washington to trade up for next year? I know we have a full college football season that we should probably get through first before me asking you that question, but I'll just ask you anyways.
I got a couple guys. For me, the most intriguing is Malik Willis from Liberty, because this guy is electric running the ball. He has one of the biggest arms I've ever seen. He has an absolute cannon, and he moves around like so many things he do. My guy Adam Aniba said he kind of looks like Vic with some of the stuff that he does. But at the same time, it's Liberty, and we're gonna see them play some better schools this year. So we're gonna see. But my pick is not going to be a favorite amongst a lot of the fan base because he's a little bit douchey, but it's okay. You know, Rodgers is douchey. I like Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma. Spencer Rattler. I think he's going to light it up at Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley this year, and I think he's going to be a trade-up candidate for us. I think he's going to be a star in the league. He has a lot of Baker Mayfield in this game, but I think he can be better than Baker Mayfield.
Without the off the field stuff, I guess.
I mean, he had some personality issues on QB1, but at the same time, you know, he was in high school. At the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and judge a guy for being, you know, blamey and douchey when he's 16 and 17 years old. So I want to see what he does on the field this year.
And I think it's a sign of maturity that I think he had his first endorsement or sponsorship deal or something like that, and he's donating half of his charity, half of his proceeds, I guess, to a what was it? It was like a charity or something.
Yeah, it was
right?
a charity. I don't know which one off the top of my head, but yeah, I know it's the Raising Cane's endorsement.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we'll see. I'm a huge, much like, so I don't know if you know this, and I'll repeat this. I know maybe the people in the chat are tired of me saying this, but And late September last year, I was on the Zach Wilson train and said that he should have gone number 2 overall. Obviously, that was before anybody really talked about him being the number 2 overall pick, and it was Justin Fields at the time. But much like that this year, kind of similar this year, I'm on the Sam Howell train. Although Sam Howell is less of an unknown name in my opinion. I just think seeing all the film, basically, of De'Ami Brown and seeing the dimes that Sam Howell was throwing down the field to him, and obviously the other receivers as well. I just think he'd be a great fit here in DC. Has a very strong arm, and yeah, I think it would be a great fit.
He's
but obviously,
he's probably going to be the first quarterback off the board. Yeah, I see him being the first or second pick of the draft.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, Rattler potentially could be as well. So I don't know.
There's a lot of interesting names, and every year we get that surprise guy, the Joe Burrow, the Kyler Murray, the Zach Wilson that comes out of nowhere and takes over. So we got to watch the college season. I'll be glued into college football all over the place though, because we need to go quarterback shopping next offseason.
Yeah, sure. And Vikings for life. I was just about to ask about this guy right here, but I mean, how big of a season do you project Terry McLaurin to have this season? Project his stats, and also another question: do you think he can be a potential Pro Bowler this year in the NFC?
Oh, I definitely think he could be a potential Pro Bowler, but at the end of the day, the big names, it's fan voting. Our fans have to go out and vote for the player, and I think he should have over 80 catches. He should have 1,400 receiving yards, and he should have somewhere between 7 to 10 touchdowns. That's what he should do, because he is a true number one receiver. As far as Vikings for life's question, Justin Jefferson or Terry McLaurin, I personally think Justin Jefferson's ceiling is higher than Terry McLaurin's, and he's a more talented receiver. But I think at the moment, Terry McLaurin is more technically refined than Justin Jefferson. Terry McLaurin's one of the best route runners in the league, and I think at the moment, Terry's the better receiver, but Justin Jefferson is going to be an absolute superstar for time to come here. But ultimately, what's going to change the trajectory of their careers is how good the quarterback play is. Kirk Cousins can get Justin Jefferson the ball. We have to find someone who can consistently put the ball on 17's hands, and we have not found that
yet. Yeah, that is true. But I mean, I guess obviously we haven't fixed our quarterback situation, but when it comes to giving Terry the ball, I would argue that we kind of have fixed the situation there, because I mean, like we said earlier, Ron Fitzpatrick definitely peppers his number one
receiver. Yep.
But I agree with you. I think he's going to have a monster season as well. I said 98 catches, a little bit over 1,300 receiving yards, and about 7 to 8 touchdowns. So I think he should be having a great season. And if Devontae Parker can go off with Ron Fitzpatrick throwing him the ball, then I think Terry McLaurin definitely can.
For sure.
The problem, though, with the Pro Bowl question, right, is that with the NFC, I mean, obviously you have great Pro Bowl receivers, much like at the running back position with Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey should be back, Dalvin Cook, and some other guys as well, and Saquon, obviously, who should also be back as well. Yep. I think the only chance that Terry McLaurin has of being a Pro Bowler this year is if Justin Jefferson regresses a little bit, because I think that's the only spot he could take at this point. But yeah,
unless Fitzpatrick is just dotting him up every week and he puts up something crazy, something like we seen Santana do when he was here.
Yeah, and he has to stay healthy too, because I mean he stayed healthy for most of the last couple of seasons, but obviously towards the end of the season he's had some lingering injuries and stuff. So hopefully Terry can stay healthy, and our boy Fitzy could pass him the ball and give him his targets. But next up, I'm going to ask you about another pass catcher on this team, and that is Logan Thomas. Do you think that Logan Thomas, coming off the tight end, I don't know what you want to call it, gathering, I guess, with George Kittle, Travis Kelce, who were organizing that over the summer, do you think off the heels of that Logan Thomas will solidify his place as a top 5 tight end next season? And do you think Washington will actually re-sign him before he becomes a free agent next spring at the age of 30 years old?
Top 5? I don't know. That's a little aggressive. But okay. But as someone who was finally used as a full-time tight end for the first time, he was very impressive, especially despite the fact that we lacked a good quarterback on the roster last year. So I think it's great to see he's a part of tight end U or whatever they got going over there with Kelsey and Kittle. Like, to take the tutelage of such elite talents to help refine his game. He can go nowhere but up. And Fitzpatrick also feeds his tight end. Mike Gesicki, he was eating with Fitzpatrick. I expect a lot of jump balls in the red zone to Logan Thomas because we still lack that established big receiver. It's going to have to be Logan right now. One of my favorite plays last year was the beautiful back corner fade touchdown Kyle Allen hit Logan with in New York. It was beautiful. That was one of the best touchdown passes I've seen here in quite some time. And the fact that he got his tiptoes down, Logan, he has nowhere to go from up. After that play versus the Giants at home last year, where he failed to recover the fumble 5 times. Oh my God, that almost broke my TV. Trigger. After that play and fan reaction on Twitter, he became a new player, and I expect to see him be in the top 10 tight end range. 5 is just a little bit graspy for me at this point.
Yeah. I will say though, it's not. When I looked at the best tight ends in this league, it's actually not too bad of a thing. Yeah, too far-fetched to say. I mean, obviously you got Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Darren Waller, TJ Hawkinson, who I think is going to have a monster season this year because luckily for Detroit, and I think, it's just only, it was just time. He just needed some seasoning and stuff. But TJ Hawkinson was a number 8 overall pick in 2019. Definitely did not have a great rookie season, and that's also something I want to mention here on this channel, and you might agree with me, but tight ends historically in their rookie seasons have not been so great. So all this hype about Kyle Pitts, I know he's a generational talent at tight end and stuff.
He's an alien. He's an alien, man.
I get that, but I think, especially if fantasy owners want to draft him as their starting tight end 1 this year, I think he's going to underperform expectations because
I think he's going to underperform for his career because I think it is nuts to take a tight end with the 4th pick of the draft. I think it's just as nuts as the Giants taking Saquon at number 2. Like a tight end at number 4? Are you serious? Matt Ryan's a dinosaur and you don't take a quarterback there or trade out of there? I don't know. For me, that was nuts for me. I don't even think he's going to – you know how great you have to be to live up to the 4th pick as a tight end? It's like if you don't wear a gold jacket, what the hell is the point?
Yeah. But yeah, so Kelce, Kittle, Waller, Hawkinson, Andrews, probably the top 5 at this point. You can reorder them however way you want, but top 5. And then after that, I mean, Noah Fant and Logan Thomas. I mean, that's how I had it. So I think, again, top 5, top 6, possibility this season. But
the QB play.
Yeah. Do you think Washington's going to re-sign him, though, after the season?
Yes, I think they're going to. I think they're going to get a 2 or 3 year deal out of him. I don't think it's going to be like a 4 or 5 year deal or nothing crazy. But I think we'll get a 2 or 3 year deal. And I would love to see how this Bates kid fits into the equation in the tight end room.
I know Corey from On the Warpath is high on him as well. Roger Smith here with the comment regarding Scott Turner. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, Scott Turner last year he didn't have the greatest of seasons when it came to his play calling, in my opinion. Obviously, you have quarterbacks like Dwayne Haskins, Kyle Allen.
That's a big factor. That's why I give him the benefit of the doubt last year because there's not but so much he could work with, man. We got a one-legged quarterback. We got one of the worst bust quarterbacks we've seen in the last 10 years. And Jags, Like, I don't know what he was supposed to do. Like, I know he abandoned the run game. We were usually down in games. That's why you abandon the run game. And when you are coming from behind, there's not but so much run game you can get going. Not but so much time on the clock. So I think he's going to be fine. I think Scott Turner is going to be fine. I think he's going to be able to dig into his bag, dig into his duffel a little bit. And I think it's going to be a fun season offensively for us.
Okay. I will say this, though. If the offense is not clicking this year, then Scott Turner is definitely on the hot seat, in my opinion. Because, like you said, Fitzpatrick likes to air it out. I mean, we have weapons now here in D.C., so there's just no excuse, in my opinion.
Yeah, we have at least adequacy at the position. And if we have that, and the offense is still not clicking. Yeah, maybe time to start shopping for it. But I believe in Lil Norv. I think he's gonna get it right, man. I think the offense is gonna be good.
Okay. The next question I want to ask you is in regards to let me see. So we have let me ask you about this. Top 5 players in the NFC East right now on July 6, 2021.
Ooh, Dak for sure. Dakota got to be up there. I'd say Dak. Oh man, that is a great question. Dak's in there. I'm putting Chase. I don't care. I'm putting Chase Young in that top 5. I'm putting Chase Young in that top 5 already. I'm gonna put Chase Young somewhere in there. So Dak, Chase Young. Amari
What about
Cooper's not.
What about
Amari
the running
Cooper,
back up there in New York?
I mean, I don't know. He's never on the field. Like talent-wise, sure he's up there, but I mean, he's on the injury report as much as he's on the field. So I guess talent-wise, I guess Saquon's in that conversation too. So I got Dak, Chase Young, Saquon Barkley. Let's say Fletcher Cox, because he's an animal, and Brandon Sheriff? I'm not sure. Like that's a great question. That is a great question. I have to think about that for a little. Leonard Williams maybe is in the mix. Leonard Williams is an animal. I would consider him. Kenny Galladay, no. Terry, I would put Terry before I would put Kenny Galladay. So yeah, man, that's a great question. Yeah, those are my 5. I got. What do you think?
I think that's a great top 5 there. I know health is a question mark, but I'm assuming because going into the week 1, right? All reports are saying that Saquon is going to be healthy. So going into week 1 is how I sort of approach the question. So I'd Saquon as number 1, just because I think he's the best talent in this entire division, the best player when healthy. Obviously, can't stay healthy, which is a problem for New York. Mm-hmm. But I think if you're saying going to week 1, top 5 players in the NFC East, I have to put him as number 1. For much of the same reason why Dak Prescott is number 1 on your list, right? Because he's also coming off a enormous injury. Yeah. So for me, I have him as number 2. And then, so it might surprise you how low I have Chase Young. So 3 is Terry McLaurin, in my opinion. I think Terry McLaurin at this point has shown, well, obviously he has some more experience than Chase Young, but also he's been more consistent, in my opinion. But I have him as number 3. And then I don't even have Chase as number 4. I have Brandon Sheriff as number 4. He's the first All-Pro here in D.C. for the first time since 1996 for a reason. He is arguably the best right guard in this league. I would give it to probably Quentin Nelson or Zach Martin at this point.
Quentin Nelson's a different type of animal, man.
Yeah.
That guy is different.
That's fair, but like when looking at the grand scheme of things, I think Brandon Sheriff definitely deserves a top spot in this list. And then Chase Young is my number 5. But bold prediction will probably be number 2 by the end of the season.
Yeah, I got Chase Young. I got Chase Young getting 17 sacks this year. Oh. Like I think he's going to be a defensive player of the year candidate. I think he's going to go crazy this year. You know, that rookie year, you got to acclimate yourself to things. You know, that's a lot. The speed of the game, like he was thriving and getting through and getting the quarterbacks, and he hasn't even put together a good assortment of pass rushing moves yet. He's just thriving off athleticism at this point. So yeah, man, I'm ready to see Bradbury. That's a good one. That's a good one we left. And Zach Martin. Okay, those are good names that we left off the list.
Bradbury, and I put a tweet out earlier today about this, but I think William Jackson could potentially be that same as Bradbury for us. Well, I mean, he could be on this list eventually by the end of the season, but I think he could be that Bradbury for us this year.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking William Jackson. I think William Jackson could definitely be on this list by the end of the season, for sure.
Yep. But yeah, I like this list, Gregory. Good job on that. And yeah, I mean, you see him having a JJ Watt type second year.
Hell yeah. I see it. It's coming. Like I think 28 sacks between him and Montez, 17 for Chase, 11 for Ted. I predicted that was my scorching hot take for the season. That's what I predicted on my show last week. I'm sticking to it. 17 sacks for the Predator.
I would agree with you if we had nobodies in the interior of this defensive line, but I mean, we got Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Matt Ioannidis is coming back, who, I mean, he's coming off a 2019 where he had 8.5 sacks, if I'm not mistaken. So,
I mean, technically, he's like the best one on the interior. People forget that. He's the best package that we have. Jonathan Allen's the heartbeat of the team, and Deron Payne's the more athletic one, but Ioannidis is the most complete interior D lineman we got, man.
Yep. So that's why I'm like in the boat that Greg Lightbody's in right now. Chase Young, I would say, probably has anywhere between like 12 to 13.5 sacks. I would say about 13 sacks this year.
Which is a great second season.
Yeah, for sure.
This line.
Yeah. And the final question. Let me see if I can ask you this question right before, but how do you see the division playing out this season? Obviously last year, whole division was clowned, called NFC least every single week by the media, by fans alike. How do you see the division playing out this year? Who do you think will be the champ by the time the 2021 season wraps up?
You know, when the schedule went out and everything, you know, I predicted us going 9-8. You know, I was just tempering my expectation because you always should do that when it comes to this team. But as the offseason goes on, it just feels right now. Like, don't things feel good? People believe in us. Like, people genuinely believe in us outside of the area. We're getting nationwide support and belief. Rich Eisen has doubled and tripled down on us. Mike Greenberg, Louis Riddick, these guys, they see what's happening here. I think we're going to go back to back. No one's won this division back to back since what, 2004? 2004, 2005? The Philadelphia Eagles. Yep. I think we're going to be the first team to do it, and I think we're going to go 11-6. It may sound homery. I truly believe that for the first time, my optimism is justified, and we're actually going to be a good football team this year, and we're going to surprise some of the better teams on our schedule, and it's going to start week 1 versus the Chargers. Justin Herbert coming into his second season, second coach in offense. I think we're going to get after him in week 1, and we're going to start an 11-win campaign. It would be the first 11-win season of my lifetime as a fan. So
that would be amazing. I'll say a couple of things with your points right here. One, Justin Herbert, you talk about Zach Martin or Quentin Nelson being a different beast and stuff. Justin Herbert, man, I have so high hopes for him this season. I think he's just going to build off of his rookie season and just be an absolute monster this year. I think we should not sell the Chargers short. I think they're going to be an absolutely tough matchup because of Justin Herbert.
For sure, he's great.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know. For me, I know a lot of fans think that, you know, it's going to be a win. For me, it's a 50-50 at this point. Justin Herbert, every time we play tough quarterbacks last year, even with the tough defense that we had, they gave us problems. Tend to struggle. Yeah. So
how many wins you got?
Throw that out there.
How many wins?
I will say this. I agree with you. We are going to repeat as division champs. Yeah. But I think the division is also going to be down this year as well, and I think we're going to win it at 9-8. The Giants are also going to be 9-8, but we're going to have a tiebreaker this year. The Giants are an elite team that nobody is talking about right now. They're literally built the same way as us, except their defense is a little bit less good than us. So
yeah, literally, if Daniel Jones takes a step forward, they are so damn scary.
Yes, they are.
They are so scary.
And everybody's talking about how the Cowboys and us are pretty much going to contend for the division title, but I think it's the Giants and us for sure.
Oh, one question for you before we go. In a redraft scenario, are you still taking Chase at number 2?
I knew you were going to ask that question after I basically spewed out my love for Justin Herbert as a quarterback in this league. Despite what I just said, I would still go with Chase Young because Chase Young.
No, I'm taking the quarterback. I'm taking the quarterback.
The thing is, I know a lot of people say though that like our defense was was already very good even without Chase Young. But how good was this defense without Chase Young, right? Like we had all the talent, but Chase Young was the guy that brought everything together and ultimately led us to being. Yeah, so like I think we were still bottom half, if not worse than that, a couple of years back with our defense, and we had pretty much the same players. The only difference was Chase Young and Kendall Fuller, I believe. But I mean, Kendall Fuller was even slacking off towards the end of the last season as well. I'm going with Chase Young still.
At the end of the day, man, that's a franchise quarterback. I've never experienced in my life us having a franchise quarterback. So if I have the opportunity to pick one, I'm taking it over the pass rusher 10 times out of 10. And I love Chase Young. Love him to death. I would take Herb. I would run so fast to take Justin Herbert.
My opinion on this though is that, I mean, you know, we all love Dustin Herbert. We think he had an amazing rookie year. But in my opinion, you're going to be able to find – I know this is easier said than done, I guess, but you're going to be able to find a franchise quarterback in the next couple of drafts. Yes. Are you? Sam Howell. Sam Howell's the guy.
Are we going to be able to do that? We're going to win a division again. We're going to be picking at 20.
For one. Or we could trade for one, like a Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson if everything clears up off the field. So – I don't know. I'm still going with Chase Young. I know that might be the unpopular opinion, which is kind of crazy to say.
Respect it. I respect it.
Yeah. Because when have we seen a guy like Chase Young like come out of the draft in recent years? I mean, do we think there's going to be another Chase Young coming?
But have we seen a quarterback here ever? Me and you, have we seen a quarterback here ever? We didn't get to see those Super Bowls.
Have we seen a Chase Young here ever? Have we seen a Chase Young here ever?
No, we have not, but I think we've seen closer to Chase Young than we have a quarterback.
That's fair.
That quarterback list is crazy, man. That purgatory has been real for 2 decades.
Yeah.
One day, though, fair. Man. We're going to get our guy one day, though, man.
For sure. We Gotta keep hoping that everything is going to be okay at the position, and hopefully we get that guy. But the last question that I love to end off these streams with, and Rio, again, it's been a pleasure to have you on the Watch Football Weekly stream, is what are your thoughts on the future of this Washington football franchise? And do you think Coach Rivera is building a winner to the point where this team might win a Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 years?
2 to 3 years. See, that's so hard to say because things switch so quickly in the NFL, and the parity of the league is unmatched. But I love what Rivera's putting together. I love what Jason's doing. I love everything I'm seeing. I'm loving the inclusivity of the fans. Everything, like I said, like I told Joey when he was on my podcast, they're just uniting and assembling like the Avengers to finally deliver us the product on the field that we've been praying for since Snyder bought the team. And I don't think Snyder is going to hold this team back of its full potential. And I think if we could solve the quarterback position in the next 5 years, we can be legit Super Bowl contenders. And I am so excited, especially with the rebrand and new identity we have coming. I hope next year we get Hard Knocks or All or Nothing after we roll out the new name, new uniform. It's going to be such a fresh feeling. And I haven't been more genuinely excited to be a fan in my lifetime.
And that says a lot because, like you said earlier, you're, I believe, 29 years old. You've been a fan of this team pretty much in the entire era since that last Super Bowl. So, I mean, that's a lot of losing. And you and, like, all the people around, like your age and stuff, if we win a Super Bowl, when we win a Super Bowl, I'm going to feel most happy for you guys because you guys have been, like, literally fans for literally since the last Super Bowl. You didn't even get to taste that last Super Bowl win, and it's been a long – So, again –
Yeah, man. That's why I feel the way I do about the quarterback position, man.
That makes sense. That makes sense. That definitely makes sense. But I will say for me, hopefully I keep shouting this out. Hopefully I'll have a video on this before the end of the summer. But I think Washington is going to be equipped to win a Super Bowl in at least the next 3 seasons. I think. Honestly, we've been talking about it every single week on this stream, but this roster is absolutely stacked. I think with another offseason, another draft process, another free agency period, I think this roster is only going to get even better. Obviously, we've been talking about extensively on this stream tonight. The problem is the quarterback. If we get the
Yeah.
quarterback solved over the next couple of years, fingers crossed Aaron Rodgers, or maybe a guy that we trade up for in the draft that is a absolute bona fide star.
Or we
I
could
think
pray,
our
or
draft's gonna end.
or we can pray that Deshaun Watson is cleared of all wrongdoing.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
a 25-year-old elite quarterback has never been traded in the history of this league. So that would be crazy.
That really would. And his trade value would probably get would be downgraded, right? From the start of this offseason with all the stuff that's happened off the field. Yeah. But thank you again, Rio, for joining this stream. We're going to end it here. Thank you for everybody in the chat that joined. Vikings for Life, Gregory Lightbody, Jor Gunner, a couple of people who are new. Thank you for joining. And on the Warpath a little bit earlier, Nahor, Roger Smith, Uria, Awesomeness Sports. Thank you guys so much for joining. It was a great one here with Rio. We talked extensively about the Washington football team and some of the news that went down late last week. And hopefully, better things are to come for this Washington football team, both on and off the field. That being said, thank you guys very much. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the DME Sports Zone channel, where we try to post fire content on here as much as possible. And I know for all those people who watched a couple of the videos from this week, we do have some new content creators on here. So some much improved content is coming your way. So make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Also, of course, make sure to follow everything that Rio is doing, both in terms of his podcast, the YouTube channel, everything. I made sure to link that in the description because he deserves you guys' support, and he is a great person when it comes to this whole Washington football team analyst scene, but also when it comes to him as a person. So make sure you guys go follow him on every outlet. And with that being said, thank you guys so much.
Appreciate it, man.
Rest of your night.
Yes, sir.